How many of you have experienced boredom since you've got back to campus? All right. Now, how many of you have already felt busy with too many things since you've got back to campus? All right. Is there anyone who didn't raise their hand yet? Okay, you guys can go because you've got what we're going to talk about already tonight. Just kidding. We're going to look at some wisdom from God's Word tonight that should apply to all of our lives. What if we could spend time like we spend money? Like, what if we had the ability to spend a little bit at a time or in big chunks, rearrange it to different places? Some of us might be frugal with our time and save up a bit for something down the road. For example, you might want to spend only 16 hours on Wednesday and Thursday so you can have a 40-hour day on Friday. Maybe you do it that way. Others of us might try to borrow time, like we try to borrow money, and ended up going into time debt. It would stink to have to pay interest back on your time. If we had that one 30-hour day, or if we had the ability to rearrange our time, that would be awesome. It'd be fun to imagine, think about what that would be like. But we all know the reality is that time marches steadily on, regardless of our approval or our readiness. It just goes. None of us gets more than anyone else. We each get 24 hours every day, regardless of how we pass that time, awake or asleep or whatever. Tonight we're going to look at Proverbs 9. We're going to use the reading row. And on Tuesday nights, we're going to hand the mic to some row for them to read the Bible passages. And we're not going to force anybody to do that. If you really don't want to, you can just pass the mic. But just an opportunity for you guys to participate in the message. And while they're looking up passages, everyone else, I encourage you to look up the passages in your own Bible, whether it's a print copy or an app. If you don't have one, we have some. Maybe you could raise your hand and Kim could pass those around if you'd like to borrow one. If you don't have a Bible of your own, you can take it home with you. So Proverbs chapter 9, we're going to look at verses 10 through 12.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For those wisdom, your days will be many, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will be rewarded for you. If you are a mocker, you alone will suffer.
All right. So from those three Proverbs, those three verses, we're going to find three insights for maximizing the school year. Three insights for maximizing the school year. And we're going to work our way backwards through the verses. So number one is wisdom comes with rewards. Wisdom comes with rewards. The first half of verse 12 said, if you're wise, your wisdom will reward you. It's pretty cool. Our society loves rewards. How many have at least one rewards credit card or a punch card or an app? How many people have several rewards programs in each of those categories? A few of us. Rewards are awesome, especially if they're already in line with things that we're going to do anyways. Hey, if I can build up rewards, filling up at my usual gas station, or visiting a favorite restaurant or coffee shop, or just by paying for normal purchases, I'm going to take advantage of that. Pull out my wallet. We've got, Heather and I use, we've got a Discover credit card, we've got an Amazon credit card, we've got a AAA gas rebate credit card, we've got a Bigby card, we've got like 4 B-Dubs cards that have one punch in them, like a bunch of different cards and different apps on my phone. I love those rewards. Doesn't require any work. A very small amount. You have to take the time to sign up. put a punch card in your wallet, or scan or swipe something when you make a purchase, check in at a store. It's also a very small reward, but it builds up over time. And if you use them. Heather and I have cashed in hundreds of dollars worth of rewards from those programs. And like I said, it's a small amount of effort in, and it's a small reward. But take a look at 2 Corinthians 9, verse 6. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 6.
Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously.
All right, thank you. So whether you apply that to farming or finances or just wise living in general, the principle is still true. If you sow sparingly, you reap sparingly. If you sow generously, you reap generously. How does it work when you're talking about wisdom? When you complete 11 wise actions, you get a free proverb or something. It's not like a commercial rewards program. Here's how it does work. The more wisdom I sow into daily living, the more blessings I'll reap in life. The more wisdom I sow into daily living, the more blessings I will reap in life. For example, let's say someone does something to you that just rubs you the wrong way, and your initial reaction is you just want to react harshly back towards them. But if instead you let wisdom step in, kind of remind you to apply the golden rule and treat others the way you would want to be treated. And if you do that, that person might apologize. They might give you a little glimpse of what's going on in their life, so you see them from a different perspective. Applying that wisdom of the golden rule might reap the blessing of a new friendship instead of a new enemy by reacting harshly. When Abraham Lincoln was criticized for speaking about kindness to the Confederates, and instead of talking about destroying them, he wisely answered, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?" Destroy my enemies by making them my friends. That's wisdom speaking, instead of what you feel like doing. It's being wise. And it works the other way too in our lives. The second half of Proverbs 9:12 says, "If you're a mocker, you alone will suffer." When we apply wisdom, we'll be rewarded. But when we do the opposite of wisdom, we'll suffer the brunt of our own foolishness. When we do the opposite of wisdom, we'll suffer the brunt of our own foolishness. Let's look at Proverbs 13:20. Proverbs 13:20.
He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm.
Good. Just thinking ahead into the school year, who are our companions going to be? Are we going to have wisdom rubbing off on us, or foolishness rubbing off on us? The second insight from Proverbs 9 is this. Number 2, living wisely can add time to our lives. I had the time question at the beginning. Living wisely can add time to our lives. Verse 11, let's review that. Proverbs 9:11.
Through me, your days will be many, and years will be added to your life.
Me referring to wisdom speaking. Through wisdom, your days will be many, and years will be added to your life. Years. That sounds pretty awesome to me. I think that part of that wisdom, you can do things like eat healthy food and not make reckless choices, not put harmful substances into your body. There's wisdom in not doing things that will shorten your life. But this verse is talking about adding time to your life. It's not about just preventing it from getting shorter, but actually adding to it. So how does that work? I think it brings us to the positive side. When wisdom brings in things like priorities and goals and order into our lives. When we use our time wisely, it gives us more time to spend on what's important. When we use our time wisely, it gives us more time to spend on what's important. You still only get 24 hours, but it's going to seem like you have more because you're getting the important things of your life done. Check out this grid. It's a good visual in how we spend our time. We've got urgent, not urgent, important, unimportant. If we spend any amount of time in quadrant 4, we have no excuse to complain about busyness, right? Unimportant and unurgent. I think it's safe to say Facebook games reside in this quadrant. You know, every time I get an invitation to one of those, like, if I see it on my phone, there's nothing I can do. And I see it on my computer, I hit the little X and turn off all notifications from that game. And I'll get, like, I've turned off 50 different game apps, so I keep getting new ones from people. But Facebook games aren't the only thing in this quadrant. It's anything that's not urgent and not important. Basically, it's strictly a time waster, whether it's intentional or unintentional. The quadrant that tends to trap most people is number 3. You know, it's not important, but it's happening right now. We get caught up in the moment. That would be like the Facebook news feed. You know, I try to check that and just browse it real quickly, see what's happening in some of my friends' lives. But it is easy to subtract time from your day by getting caught up in browsing that. Another thing in this area would be like that show that you weren't intending to watch, but now it's on and it's arrested your attention. You can't pull away from it. Or staying up till 4 a.m. and then sleeping half your day. That could be in there. Most of us can handle quadrant 1. If something's important and it's urgent, most of us will get it done and we'll take care of it right now. But wisdom resides in quadrant 2. Those things that are important, but they don't have to be done this minute. And most people don't get around to doing those important things that aren't urgent. Why don't we get around to those important things? Because we wasted too much of our 24 hours in these areas. So wisdom says, this doesn't have to be done right this moment, but I'm going to do it now anyways because I know it's important. That doesn't mean that we have to be serious all the time. It's not about getting everything in order, being all serious. Fun and connecting with people and rest, those can be in the important categories too. And we just need to apply wisdom to our lives to figure out what the right balance is of that. And we can figure out that balance by developing our priorities and our goals. And then when we apply those priorities and goals, that's when we're interacting in that section 2 of the grid. And that's where the time payout is really going to kick in, of that extra time being applied in our lives and feeling that extra time because we got all these important things done. And the not so important things don't really matter as much anymore. Some of us, too much organizing can turn into a time waster too. So again, you just need the balance there. Let's look at Ephesians 5, verses 15 through 18. Ephesians 5, verses 15 through 18.
Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is.
Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit.
All right. God's word tells us to make the most of every opportunity using wisdom. And that's where we're going to yield those years of time added onto our lives by making the most of every opportunity. Just the little bits here and there are going to add up over the course of our life. Because we develop some diligence and efficiency in doing things that we know are important. This passage always, in Ephesians, also talks about wisdom involves trying to understand what God's will is and being filled with His Holy Spirit. And that leads us into the third insight. Third point for tonight is honoring God with our lives is the beginning of wisdom. Honoring God with our lives is the beginning of wisdom. Let's read Proverbs 9, verse 10.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding.
Right. Psalm 111, verse 10, and Proverbs 1:7, we don't have to look those up right now, but basically say the same thing here, that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So living wisely brings blessings and rewards into my life, and a big part of that blessing is that sense of added time. So those are all good things. I want to apply that into my life. I want to apply wisdom. How do I do that? The Bible tells us the starting place for learning about wisdom is with God. This is with the fear of God. And that's a concept a lot of people wrestle with. God's love, and we're supposed to fear Him. How does that work? What does it mean to fear God? For those people who don't know God yet, if I have not yet committed my life to Him, accepted His forgiveness, then I should be literally horrified and terrified at the thought of His judgment. This lifespan is just a blink of the eye compared to forever. Forever is a really long time. And without God in this life, I'm going to experience conscious, eternal torment forever in the next life. Let's look at Luke 12:5.
But I will show you whom you should fear. Fear him who after the killing of the body has power to throw you into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him.
So there's a reason to fear God. But what if I have committed myself to Jesus? I have accepted His offer. That means He's adopted me into His family. I'm His child. He's promised me an inheritance forever in heaven, in His presence, in close relationship with Him. And He's promised to strengthen me and comfort me through the troubles of this life. And He expects my obedience and my love in return. As His children, He tells us plenty of places in the Bible not to be afraid, including in the same chapter that we just read, Luke 12, verse 32. Let's look at that. Luke 12:32.
Sell your possessions and give to the poor.
Is that Luke
Sell your
12:32?
possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourself that will not wear out. A treasure in heaven that will never. Do not be afraid, little flock, of your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom.
Thank you. Whenever that happens, I don't know if I made a copy error, and sometimes we don't know what to do. But it's okay. It's all good. So, do not be afraid, little flock. Your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. So God cares deeply about us. We're in close relationship with him if we know him, if we've accepted him. But even so, those of us in relationship with him, God is so far beyond us, we should still maintain a healthy level of fear as we look at God and as we approach God. Even the Apostle John, who wrote the book of John, and he referred to himself in that book as the apostle whom Jesus loved. I just think that's funny. That's instead of writing I or John, the apostle whom Jesus loved. So this guy was one of Jesus' 3 best friends on earth. And John said this about seeing a vision of the glorified Jesus in heaven. Let's look at Revelation 1:17. Revelation 1:17.
When I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. Then he placed his right hand on me and said, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last."
Okay, so even John, who understood God's love and a relationship with Jesus better than anyone ever, pretty much, when he saw Jesus in his true form, he was literally scared to death. But then Jesus reached down in love and picks him back up to his feet. So, depending on where you're at with God right now, how do you treat an all-powerful king who has the authority to put you to death, keep you in torment, who hears everything whispered behind closed doors?